everybody, Dave Brown here from FishLab Tackle. Today we're doing something a little bit different. This isn't one of our regular canned videos where we're sitting with Mike and we're on the water, we're talking about baits. We're actually all kind of working remote still here in Ontario and all around Southern California. So I've got Mike Bennett, Product Development Manager for FishLab, and our new special guest, Bill Siemantel, BBZ, Big Bass Zone Bill. We're excited about this. This is something that just popped up over the last couple of weeks. It's so for those of you guys that don't know, we got, like Bill, like I just mentioned, he's going to be coming on board as a product specialist to help us out in designing some baits. He's been working with Mike for, I don't know where you guys are on the screen, I'm pointing everywhere, but he's been helping out Mike for the last several months. These guys have been buddies forever. But yeah, let's talk a little bit. Mike, what's going on?
Excited to be headed to ICAST with some pretty awesome news that we've teamed up with Bill, and we're going to relaunch some classic lures. We're going to redesign, relaunch, retool them, and just make some badass fishing lures.
That'd be awesome. I mean, for those of you guys who don't know, like I mentioned, Bill. So Bill, BBZ baits, if you're in the bass community, have been around for quite, how many years, Bill, has BBZ been around?
Oh, easy 20, but working back years ago, it incorporated everything from freshwater to saltwater for the BBZ line. And that basically it's just a way of thinking. It's just a mindset of going out there, catching bigger fish, more fish, wherever you're going. So
I wasn't even born 20 years ago, so this is awesome.
You got a pretty good little beard going.
It's on my pencil in every day.
It's a filter.
It's a filter, yeah, exactly. The cat one was down, so I had to do this one. It's something we're super excited about. As I keep mentioning, we did the press release last week. We kind of shook the fishing industry a little bit. Unfortunately, we're like a little bit late with this news coming out. We wanted to release it earlier. We needed for some paperwork to get done, but everything's finalized and it's exciting. It's going to happen at ICAST. ICAST, for those of you that don't know, it's in Orlando. It's the big international fishing show. It happens, other than last year, it happens every July, either in Orlando or Las Vegas. We get out there, we sweat a lot. We get to talk to all the industry folks. It's an industry-only show. We talk about baits. We talk about rods and reels. Every manufacturer is there. They're releasing all their new products for the upcoming year. It's exciting. I mean, it's something we've done. I mean, Mike's been with FishLab in Okuma now for 13 years, 12 years?
12 years.
Time goes so fast. It's nuts. I mean, we've had several incarnations within the Okuma family. We had Savage Gear for a while. We had Pakula Lures was one of our brands for quite a few years. We've got FishLab. We parted ways with the other bait company, and we've got FishLab. This came out 2 years ago, and Mike, wherever he's at, he's right here on my screen, was a brainchild of this. I mean, how did this all come about, Mike?
Just the passion of lures. With the other companies, there were always outside influences. They were an international company and their business was in Europe. So we always butted heads on what kind of hooks, swimming action, stuff like that, because they were trying to tailor lures for their specific fishery. In the meantime, crossing them over into the US. In the end, we just wanted to build the perfect product from top to bottom, no compromises with any outside companies. We brought it in internally so we can do it the way we want to.
That's the way to do it. And, for those of you guys that don't know Mike, most of you do that are tuning into FishLab here, but, he's the hog whisperer, the hog trough, or what's your name out there?
The hog father.
The hog
father. That's right. That's what it is. So Mike has been chasing, he's one of the early adopters to big swim baits. He's been in that bass scene since he was a wee lad. Mark Rogers in our company as well. These guys are early swim baiters. They've been out catching big fish. They've all got a lot of big fish. And, Mike was the right guy to take on this project for Okuma and FishLab. That early bait that we came out with on the FishLab side, everybody knows the Bio-Gills. These are the big bluegill mimic baits. Yep, Bill's got one right in his hand there. These things are nuts. There's a wake bait, there's a glide bait version and a swim bait version. It kind of covers all segments from the top down to, you can get those things down to the bottom if you want to. What was some of your thought process behind that, Mike?
Anywhere there's largemouth bass, there's going to be bluegill, and anytime they commingle in a water source, I mean, bluegill are one of the top preys of largemouth, especially when they're coming off that spawn into the post spawn. The bluegill are moving up. They'll target the bigger bass are targeting bedding bluegill. After that spawn, those small bluegill retreat to the outside weed lines while bass are pulling off the bank. And it's just those migration routes cross multiple times a year, and bass will totally key in on them.
I mean, we've got some of our friends who are throwing those things for redfish in some brackish water areas, and you know, redfish aren't known to eat bluegill, but these baits have such crazy action and they look so lifelike that they're getting a look from every fish out there. It's pretty cool.
Right. I mean, it can mimic a pinfish if you're down in Florida with that wake bait, if you're targeting snook and big reds. It's just a great all-around bait. We've had a lot of species caught and pictures sent into us that are outside the bass realm on them also.
Totally. So like that was the big kind of key introduction for 2 years ago for FishLab, was the bluegill was kind of our big splash. We've got multiple baits, everything from, like, right now we're all in Southern California and there's bluefin tuna 2 miles off the beach right here. Things like our Carnata jigs, which are fantastic jigs. These big jigs, they're crazy. Bill's got the pink glow in his hand right there. They're rigged for these big fish. You don't have to go out and buy any additional assist hooks. That's the regular Carnata slow pitch jig. It comes in a flutter jig. This year we introduced a leaf jig, which has got some, actually I posted today. If you go onto the Instagram FishLab, you can see one of the glow patterns. They're awesome. They're awesome jigs. But so anyway, there's that. There's soft baits like the Bio-Minnow. And we'll come back to it in just a little bit, but we've got some incredible introductions for ICAST this year. So, you know, we're expanding. Everybody's always asked, like, you guys doing worms? Are you guys doing this? Are you doing this? You know, we're trying not to be a Me Too company with FishLab.
Right.
We're getting requests all day. Mike gets requests. Bill gets requests. John at the office, myself, we see all these requests come through for what people want to see. And we're a small enough company that with Mike at the helm here, and then with Bill coming on board, overseeing a lot of this stuff as well, you know, we're going to be able to react fast and make some really cool changes. You know, and talking about Bill now. Okay, so let's talk Bill. We're talking swim baits. You saw the bluegill. Bill's known for these big rats, the BBZ rat. He's got the fat flies. He's had many different products under his umbrellas for several years. You know, Bill, give us a little bit of your background and how this all came about. I know you've known Mike and Mark for many, many years, but how'd this all come about?
Started when I was a young kid. So my history goes all the way back to 1985. I was making some of the first wood plugs up at Pyramid and Cast Stake for stripers. And I was a crazy enough kid to start lead lining them at the lower lake and started catching 10-pound fish when I was in my teens. So this precursed a lot of people, and I was fortunate enough to be around the right people. Man, I was in the beginning with Sean Donovan with the Optimum, and he caught his first biggest fish on one of my hand pours from Pete Cormier, and within that year, I caught my largest fish, a 19.8, on one of his Optimums. And I helped everybody, or been a part of, you know, Huddleston and Cast Stake, and, you know, Sean with Optimum, and it just kept going through. Around 2005, Tim Norman showed up to me with Spro, and he says, "Hey, what's the biggest problem with swim baits?" And this is one of the reasons why I really like the direction of FishLab and what Mike's talking about and you guys are talking about as a company. And it was what we were talking about years ago, was it's very rare to find a company that wants to come out with really good product, but to have a price point that everybody can use it at. And back in the day, you know, I was selling a table leg for $300, you know, and what it did is isolated out so many of the grassroots anglers, the ones that we want to, you know, grow and love the sport. So the biggest thing is coming out with some really cool products. And I have designed everything from little teeny jigs to 12-foot long swim baits and everything between, from fresh and saltwater. And it's neat to see the progression of where the industry is going and watching the lure patterns moving. The rare part that we have the opportunity now is you have two Southern California boys, me and Mike. I've known Mike for quite a few years. He really came into my view when he was doing a lot of stuff with Savage and the awards over there in ICAST. And we know each other because we fish locally. And this goes back to even Akuma. I mean, Mark Roger and I, we used to fish against each other, I don't know, 25 years ago. So, you know, the family has been here. We just haven't been able to shake hands. We all know each other.
Right.
And then I was able to reach out to Mark, and some things happened in January where I split ways with certain people. And some doors opened up that truly is rare when you're able to get, first of all, hardcore fishermen. It doesn't matter. We're not just bass fishermen. Mike and I love to fish for all fish. And that's a key element and component when you're making baits, is you got to look at a bait and figure out, basically, like you said, the science of the strike. You got to figure out what fish are keying in on. And that's everything from a bluegill to a blue marlin. And when you're able to do that, and you have the fishermen that's us to see that, and then we have some history and background in building lures and knowing the right people to contact and building a bait at a price point that it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be able to buy something at a reasonable price point. You know, it's going to work out of the box, and you're going to start putting fish in the boat. That's rare. And to have two guys in Southern California, Mike and I are so close. I'm an hour from his house. We're not only going to be able to build baits for the fishermen now, as Mike and I are going to be able to test baits side by side, be able to bounce things off, be able to get to our pro staff, be able to look at the team in general, all of Akuma, all of, you know, FishLab, all of Soft Steel, and say, hey, what are we missing? Are we missing anything? We're going to be able to change it on the fly, get some product out there that's going to literally blow people's minds at a price point, and start building on it. I'll tell you what, here's how excited it is. It's been it's about 6 months we've kind of been working on stuff, Mike. Yeah. People have no idea that this is just, we have stuff in the works. Mike and I, it's crazy that there's papers and papers of stuff that we're looking at everything from bluegill to blue marlin. And you're not going to get that in other companies. And like you said, it's really cool. I'm even getting approached already. It's like, Bill, are you going to come out with your rat? Are you going to come out with fat flies? We're going to bring everything to FishLab that's going to catch fish. That's the bottom. And we're going to bring the best product out there at the best price point. And you're not going to get that company.
We're in a very unique situation right here with, on the screen right now, are two actual lure designers. Not guys that open up a catalog and say, oh, you guys need some worms, we'll pour some worms. We got two designers. So we got two award-winning designers. You know, Mike Bennett was with us when we had the other brand, and they won several awards at ICAST for best new lures. I know Bill posted some pictures of that earlier on one of his posts. And then Bill's got several awards of his own. How many awards do you have, Bill?
Well, I know I got the best of show for my rat. And then a lot of people didn't know, but I helped design and start the whole thing with trapper hooks. So I had patents, and I don't know how many awards I won with that, with my drop shot and my treble hooks and stuff. So interesting with companies, you know, some people things happen, people go different ways. It's just part of the industry. But the nice thing about it is our timing right now is the doors have opened where we have an incredible team with incredible product that I see in the next few years, we're going to change a lot of people's minds and turn a lot of heads in the industry and the fishing community to be part of the family.
I agree, and being two designers, so you got Bill and Mike. These guys are actual designers, right? You saw Bill had a notepad with sketches in it. You know, these guys are mad scientists. He's got a ruler in his hand. I mean, Mike is the exact same way.
I'm going to say this. It's not that we're just designers. And I think both Mike and I know a ton of lure designers, and it's not knocking anybody. But some lure designers, the difference is that some people, like, they make product, but they never use the product. They don't understand. I think what we have is we have two crazy hardcore fishermen that Mike could say, yeah, he knows how to catch 50-pound stripers. And I could say, yeah, I've caught 500 over 10 largemouth. And then Mike goes, well, I've caught 25-pound brown trout. And I could go, well, I've hooked, 400-pound black sea bass. And you got two fishermen that are, I think we're so well versed in so many different categories of fishing, of understanding the system, the rods and reels, the lines you put on it, to the baits, to understanding how fish hit those lures to get the best hookup to get them in the boat. So we just have like a wicked combination. I think what's really crazy, you got two crazy fishermen that are going to be able to throw stuff at each other and basically make magic happen, because I think we know two sides of the coin, which a lot of people, you don't see that a lot in the industry nowadays.
For sure. What's unique about Okuma and FishLab is that we are, for the most part, all fishermen. Like, you were just talking about you and Mike going back and forth with the fish, but if you bring John, myself, Mark, we can make a list of our people and put us on the screen here. We probably got every fish covered in the world.
I was making it just about me and Mike. I thought it was. I didn't want to bring you guys into it, but yeah.
So everybody's a fisherman. Everybody gets it. Science of the strike is all what FishLab is about. It's FishLab. It's that you guys are in the lab. What is your lab? Your lab is the water. You know, how are you guys testing these baits? Anybody can design a swim bait. In fact, I'm going to run this one by you guys, but don't try to knock that off or anything.
That's a good one.
It's, you know, I maybe jointed. I don't know yet. I haven't totally decided. But, you know, it is the lab. Anybody can design a swim bait. You could put it out there and just get an S curve to it. You know, why will those bass, they're hunkered down in structure. Why are they going to come up and grab your bait versus another bait? So this is what FishLab's about. We've got a core group of fishermen all around the country. You know, for us, the lab is the water. There's a series of videos called In the Field. In the field is what we're doing right now. We're traveling around the country. We're talking to our, you called them our pro staff, and it's our pro staff, it's our lab technicians, however you want to term these guys. These guys are dialed into their own water. We just released a video from Pyramid Lake up in Nevada, and it's cutthroat trout. You know, who would have thought throwing these big jerk baits for cutthroat trout would get them going? But we were with Dennis Isbister from Wild Fish Wild Places up there, and we started working these things just like we're fishing bass. And these big trout were coming out of hiding. You know, we're 20 feet of water. They're coming out from the shrubs. They're coming out from some of the drop-offs. And they're absolutely attacking these things. You know, why did that work? Dennis knew why it would work, because he knows exactly how those particular fish are going to react. This is what these guys' specialties are. It's knowing what the bass are going to do, or whatever fish it happens to be. You know, right now we're talking bluefin tuna. They're keyed in on anchovy right now, and this real stuff is really pushed in. Sardine for years. Right now they're really keyed in on these little tiny baits. What do we have for that? We've got the Carnata flutter jigs, the little tiny guys. What are they? 80 gram to start? 60 gram? 40.
60 to 40, 60, 80, and 120.
So that 40 gram is a little tiny. That's gonna match your chovy. I mean, they know what these fish are going to be keyed in on, and this is what they designed them to do. I mean, what, you got anything to fill in on that, Mike? I mean, you've got this core group of people that are out there helping you build these baits.
Right. I think in the end, it comes down to passion. A lot of guys take lure design and as a job Monday through Friday, and they're out golfing on weekends. I mean, guys that we work with and have surrounded ourselves with at this company, I mean, we're fishing all weekend. So anyone can make a lure swim, but it's definitely takes a lot more dedication to do that fine tuning outside the office and on the water.
For the most part, we've all been remote for the last year and a half, like everybody has in the world. What happens at 5 o'clock when you turn off the team meeting? Boom, you hit the water. You know, we're luckily in Southern California, like Bill had mentioned here, is we've got many sources of an opportunity to catch big bass. We're close enough to the saltwater if we want to go do that. We got trout fishing. We're not too far from the Sierras. We've got a variety of stuff. I was just in Lake Fork, Texas a week and a half ago, and you ask those guys, like, hey, so we're out here at Lake Fork. Where do you guys want to go to catch big bass? They all say California. Let's go to California. You talk to Californians, they all say, let's go to Texas. So it's, you know, we've got, you know, the whole country's covered and everybody's dialed in. What you got, Bill? What were you going to say? I see
No, you guys, like I said, the nice thing about coming in this and like for the last 6 months and going back, like I said, I really was able to sit down and talk to Mike at the Anglers Marine Show. God, how many was that? 6 years ago or so, Mike?
I think so, yeah.
And I was watching him do his magic behind the screen and stuff, and that's when I was really starting paying attention and, you know, following on Instagram, the Hog Father. That cracks me. Okay, that cracks me up, dude. That's a good one. But you go check out his stuff, and the dude catches fish. And we were down at the office, and we started talking striper fishing. And my biggest striper is 35 pounds off the short cast ache with one of my old, you know, my swim baits. And Mike's showing me 50 pounders from another state. And that's where you're going, oh my, we just looked at each other and started cracking up, and you're going, it's such a rare opportunity that we're going to be able to look at each other and know what worked on key fish, which here's the crazy part. When you know what stripers hit, when you're talking about California and Texas and you're just down there at Lake Fork, when you turn around and you go pick up a Bio-Gill, the way FishLab builds it with the product, the hardware, everything else, the way it works, it doesn't matter if you fish California or Maine, because bass eat bluegill. You make the right bluegill, it has the right sound frequency, it moves right in the water, you hit the right water columns, you tie it on, you throw it out, you catch fish. Doesn't matter where you're at. And that's like I said, you got a couple crazy guys that we're 24/7. I mean, Mike's texting me at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Bill, you think about this? And I answer him back, 2:01. Yep.
I appreciate the heads up on turning off my phone, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Can I get your phone number?
It's
Now I'm
exciting.
excited. This is cool stuff.
Talking about, just talking about the design of the baits, we also introduced the Rattle Toad at the same time. That was one of our initial offerings. That frog market, same deal. It's all around the country. Our guys, there's actually a Pacific Northwest tournament up in the Oregon and Washington. That's a frog tournament that's going on. And I used to go to the Pacific Northwest show, and if it's not a silverfish, nobody wants to talk about it, right? It's got to be steelhead, it's got to be salmon. Guys would come up to the booth, they're looking around, they'd open their phone, and they're like, I caught this 9-pounder on a frog. And they don't want to get beat up, right? It's not a salmon steelhead guy is going to come and get these guys. So they're keeping it on the DL. But that frog fishing is everywhere. And, talking about the Rattle Toad, which Mike came out with, these things were super well thought out, right? It's got a really loud rattle. The rattle's mounted. The bait actually sits flat on top of the water. It's got a floating skirt. It's got super sharp hooks. And now there's the popping Rattle Toad. I mean, it's just expanded. It's expanded out there. We talked a little bit about ICAST, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes as well, kind of what's on the horizon for everybody. But these baits are well thought out. If you haven't checked them out, you're catching this here on this YouTube. Maybe it popped up on your suggestions or something. But head over to FishLabTackle.com. You can check out the whole line of baits. Visit your local retailer, ask them for them by name as well. But it's an exciting time right now for FishLab. I tell you what, we've got some baits in stock. We don't have anything else in stock right now, so it's pretty exciting.
Definitely.
The really cool thing I look at it too is, and this is how as a fisherman, and I'm one of those weird nuts, that you can never look at just one component, because one component does nothing by itself. It goes all the way from the tip of your toes, through your body, through your gear, to the lips of the fish. The nice thing, and this is one of the reasons why I was so excited to come to this family, is it included with the Kuma, and I knew Mark Rogers and you guys with the Kuma for 25 years. We've been doing shows for 30 years together, and I watched the progression and how well Akuma started to take off in building product. And I mean, I just sat down with Mike and John, and we just went through the saltwater gear, and here, I'm like going, what? And then I'm seeing it on the freshwater side of things. And it's really cool is when you're able to look at a product and you're building a product on a fisherman's side of view, is you also have to look at what is going to throw that product, what type of line, what type of rod and reel combo. And when you could turn around in the office and look at Akuma, the new Psycho Stick, or, I mean, I've been fortunate enough, I got some secret reels that I've been testing, and you're sitting there going, oh my gosh. And you go, I could set up this rod, this reel with this bait. Oh, and we got soft steel line, and we know exactly how to inform the fishermen, from the pros that are going to fish any of the big tournaments down to the average Joe or a youth fishing one of the kids tournament. We're going to be able to tell them this is the best system to fish anything within our group, our family. And you don't get that. That is so rare. And to be able to build lures around systems instead of go, yeah, we got a great 12-inch bait. What kind of rod and reel you got for it? I don't know. It's cool, but we just don't know what to do. Oh, heck no. Guess what? Akuma, you know how awesome Akuma is? You guys have like specialty rods for, SoCal saltwater and guide series rods. You have all these rods that are specific even for the West Coast. And anything built for the West Coast works globally. Like when we dial stuff in on California, everybody uses it. Doesn't matter where you live in the world. So we have it, and it's just, you don't have those combinations. And that's why I've been so excited. I've been waiting for this for many years, to be able to kind of work with a family with so many different opportunities to have it all meshed together. And like I said, when I saw this, and Mike and I talked a few months back, there's some magic happening. I'm just telling you, and I think everybody's going to enjoy it. And the cool part about it is we're accessible. Mike, myself, you, Dave, it's very hard with a lot of other companies when people are looking for product or new ideas or concepts. There's a wall. There's a door that sometimes no one will ever open. You get a hold of us anytime. We're going to listen.
Yeah, we'll post Dave's email and a link in this video. And you can reach out to him anytime.
So, a lot of people out there do, they follow all of our social media. So if you ever get a social media question on any of the brands, the answer's coming across these fingers. So I manage all of those platforms, every comment that comes through. If you've got a specific comment for Mike or for Bill, shoot it over. I'll get it directly to those guys. Mike likes weird pictures, so send those over as well.
That was Al Linder calling right there. Just to throw a couple of name drops. That was Al calling. He must have just heard the news too.
Looking for some bluegill or something. So,
hey, Mike, I just want to. The biggest thing is I want to know, like, Mike's known me for a lot of years and stuff. With what we're gonna do, Mike, what is a couple things? And I know we can't talk specifics about 2022. But what are you the most excited about on working on? Because I wanted to see if we're on the same page moving forward just with FishLab. Is there a couple, like, throw out 2 baits that might tweak some melons?
There's 2. The rat is definitely going to be a fun one, but there's another one we've been talking about that I'm not going to mention yet that I think is going to change the vertical application.
Okay.
So
I like it talking in code.
What's that?
I like it talking in code. It's awesome.
Yeah. Before in the past, it was all ice jigs on meter marks. Now there's going to be a couple new fun baits to drop vertically.
Oh,
awesome.
I know.
That's exciting.
So whether
So,
you're west or the desert lakes, I said whether you're in the Midwest on the Great Lakes or the desert lakes out here, it's going to be a game-changing bait.
Totally. So we're very excited to have a bill aboard. Obviously, we've got ICAST. Most of us leave next week, which is the week of July 15th, right in there. The show is the following week. It's actually the July 21st through the 23rd in Orlando. What do you guys have? We could talk about it at this point. What do you guys have that you've been working on that we're going to show at ICAST? I mean, new product showcase. There's some cool stuff out there. We've already seen a couple clips. I know I've been posting a couple of teasers here and there. What's some excitement that these anglers could be looking forward to here in the next week?
We definitely have some fun, exciting products coming out. By far, my favorite is the Slamamander. It's a 4-inch, 6-inch, or 7-inch swim bait. It's kind of designed as a heavy cover swim bait. We fished it on everything from swinging football heads to weighted beast hooks to Texas rig to the Carolina rig, and it just excelled on all presentations. It's taking the lizard into the 21st century. So soft lizard baits, everyone knows that zoom style, curly legs and curly tail, and it hasn't really ventured from that at all. So we're coming with an exciting new bait that can be fished a multitude of ways. We have our BioShad Tailspin, which will feature a new owner product that we're going to be the first to use in production in the US to put 2 full treble hooks on a tailspin. So your hook to land ratio is going to be greatly increased, especially with largemouth, the way they love to jump and try to throw hooks. Just a bunch of exciting baits. Talking about ice jigs and vertical jigs, I think we have a game changer coming out this year as a precursor to the big one that'll be out next year.
Talking about, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bill.
I got to throw in I'm going to do a little social media post on this one, but the Slamamander, I'll tell you this. There's such a big craze, and I think that, and Mike gets a lot of credit for this. I mean, this is his pet project here, pet salamander, Slamamander. There's such a big craze on the swim bait market for years, and a lot of what people are doing. And what Mike was able to do with this bait, I've seen it in the water, I've worked with it, the capability of not just a big profile bait, but also having basically, you could say, a swim bait on steroids. When you start looking at Clear Lake, Isabella, Casitas, I even see this bait. It's going to be one of those weird ones. I could picture somebody whacking a 10-pound checker, a calico on it, just going down the rock walls in Long
Beach. Yeah.
That when you see the action and profile of this, how it falls through the water. I mean, I could see guys literally, like I said, even with the lighter weight beast hook down in Florida, throwing it over the tulies in the skinny water for those big, Florida bass. The capability and the cross action of a swim bait plus a big salamander water dog, which is what we grew up on fishing in California. And that's why I think you guys are going to get such incredible product from us, from FishLab, because a water dog, anybody who grew up in the 70s and 80s and caught 50-pound bags out of all of our lakes before we couldn't use them anymore, or in Texas,
Yep.
They were using these baits. Those fish have never shied away from eating those baits. It's just the industry has left those baits behind because the real live baits are not allowed to be used. Guess what?
Too cute.
Mike just
Little
pulled
eyelashes and stuff.
Oh, well, you got the gills. I'll put a little video up, a social media post after this. I'm going to tease a little bit people so they can come see Mike and I over there at the booth.
Definitely.
4,800. But that's the difference of what you're going to get with FishLab is you're going to get guys going back and say, hey, what really works, and make a product out there. And when you think of all the guys in every state that are slow rolling a swim bait across the bottom, wait till they do the Slamamander, and you better have your drag button on your Akuma reel. And be ready with
Tell
your
you what,
soft.
at Lake Fork, we were fishing that 10-inch worm on like the shaky head and some Carolina rigs and stuff. But if we would have had some of these Slamamanders out there pulling these things up over the stumps, it just would have been nuts.
Oh yeah.
Mike didn't give you any? I got a whole. I've had them for months.
I hoarded the samples.
They work. They really.
If I would have got invited to Lake Fork, we probably would have had a couple of fish. You know what I mean?
I just hope we have some left for the actual booth at ICAST in next week here. So
we got a couple.
Okay.
They got some holes in them.
So just one other bait. I know you were talking about vertical jigs, but being Southern California, and we talked about bluefin. There's another bait that's in the new product showcase this year that's kind of got a vertical presentation, but above the water. I mean, this thing is nuts. Let's talk a little bit about that, Mike. I mean, it's been, the flying fish has been so incredible over the last couple of years. Let's talk about this bait real quick.
Right. So big bluefin tuna love flying fish here in Southern California. Flying fish is just a great all around bait anywhere. Florida sailfish. Problem is they're hard to get. They're hard to keep alive. If you buy frozen ones, peak season, you're paying $40 for a frozen flyer. You pin his wings out, it gets blown up on once, it's done. So what we created is a set of mimic wings that you can pin onto a live mackerel. So now you can jig up a tank full of mackerel in the harbor, on the jetty, on the way out. And it's just a little harness that gives that mackerel perfect flying fish profile. Now, instead of dragging a frozen flyer from the kite, you actually have a live mackerel that's kicking, creating white water on the surface. You're still hopping them up out of the water. It's just been an absolute deadly rig.
They're crazy and they look so good. Like you talked about, either a frozen mackerel or dropping that sabiki for a live mackerel.
Yeah.
Small mackerel to big old horse mackerel. You get that thing with that profile above the water, and they're just getting absolutely smashed. But they're pretty expensive, right?
What's that? The bio wings? No.
Yeah.
I believe the retail on them is going to be $9.99. So it's just an absolute great product to have, where big bluefin are going to be around. And it might be a game changer on a party boat. I mean, when those big tuna were on the kite, you had 2 guys fishing and the rest of the boat was just drowning sardines or doing whatever, trying to get one picked. Now you're going to be able to fly line a mackerel, even if you don't have a balloon or a kite. So put a little grip right on top of the harness. It keeps the mackerel on the surface, and now you're able to fly line a mackerel out of a party or private boat and still have a shot at a big tuna, even though you don't have the kite or balloon.
Exactly. It is definitely a game changer. You're talking about a $40 frozen flyer. You used to be able to catch them in various ways, but now they've changed it where you can only catch them on hook and line. So it's like a sabiki type rig to try to catch flying fish. You ever caught a flying fish on a hook and line?
No,
they made it darn near impossible to do it. Mackerel, like you talked about, stop at the red buoy, stop at the green buoy, stop at the edge of the jetty, stop wherever, load up on some mackerel. Maybe if you're down in Long Beach, Nacho gives you a couple gives you a couple of baits in your scoop, and you're good to go there. But at a $9.99, $10, basically single use. It's basically going to be a single use, but it's $30 cheaper than a frozen flyer, right? And right now you're talking a legitimate shot at a 200-pound fish every time you're going out.
I know my buddies who went out there and put up lights. Last year, trying to, when they changed the rules, lights, trying to get the flyers. They're selling for $40 a piece. So you can go buy 4 wings from FishLab. You can buy 4. They don't go bad. They're there. Basically, it's $9, $10 a use, which is better than you're paying for the frozen ones. And if you don't go through them all, they get freezer burn. I mean, you start weighing everything right there, and you're kind of laughing, and you're like, oh, this is really a no-brainer. And they're beautiful. Like I said, when we were looking at it down at the shop, I was sitting there going, it's one of those, Like that's
Definitely.
that's stupid.
Why
Why
did
didn't
nobody
anybody
not
else
think of
think
this
that?
forever ago?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
these things look great. It's not like it's a piece of cardboard cut out in the shape of wings. You're not having to get your popsicle sticks. You know, you're not having to do anything weird here. They look like a freaking flying fish. I mean,
they're actually beautiful.
Are beautiful.
The colors, the tone, the translucence, the rainbows, all the, when you start looking at the light, and Mike and I was holding up at the shop and he was showing me, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, when you try, the biggest thing on anything, on any baits, is you try to create the illusion of realism. You're trying to make something look real. And when you pin this on and you slide a mackerel through there and you pin it and you just look underneath and you're sitting there like, I don't care if you're a human or a 300-pound cow cod, it's a flying fish. I mean, it's the bait they're going to chew on. And it's amazing how he took something so simplistic with Fish Labs, a need out there in an industry that so many people are looking for that will never be able to experience to use a real flying fish for bait. Right. And now with Fish Labs capability, they can go online, buy 4 for $40 and use them anytime they want.
What about that science of the strike right there?
Yeah, to the T.
Exactly. Well, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. You know, I appreciate it. Bill, we're very excited to have you aboard. Definitely. We're looking forward to seeing you at ICAST next week. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I know you just got out of surgery. We'll probably have to pass on the golf and the tennis, but it's gonna be awesome at the booth.
I'm not doing anything. I'm still healing. So I'm just going to be a bump on the log, not saying anything. Nobody will even know I'm there.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to happen. So if you
we'll let you pull on a Goliath before the show since your shoulder's all hurt this year.
Exactly.
I'm just going to get better this year. I'll be ready next year to do stuff.
Perfect. Definitely. But if you guys want to come by, you all know Bill. If you want to come by and talk to him and talk to Mike and Bill, come by booth 4800. It's under Okuma. We're right next to the new product showcase where you're going to be able to see all those cool new Fish Lab baits. Bill, how can people get in touch with you or find you on social media or your website? Can you roll out that little information real quick?
Bill at thebbz.com. Everybody has my info if they ever need to get a hold of me. My one website that we just have content for anglers from anything from saltwater to freshwater is thebbz.com. And Facebook, Instagram, I'm doing the kids tournament, the Big Bass Zone Junior Championship, or just Bill Siemantel's Facebook page. And it's pretty easy to get a hold of me. I'm all around.
You can find him, that's for sure. How about you, Mike? How can people get in touch with you?
Email Dave Brown. No, I'm kidding. You can always email me at Mike at Okuma Fishing USA. You can hit me on Facebook if we're friends. You can check out my Instagram, which is the Hogfather. Definitely come by the show at ICAST. We're going to have the pool set up. So not only can you talk to us, but you can actually see these baits all swimming. So,
and the easiest way, if you can't remember their names, is just reach out to us via the social media platforms, either here on YouTube. You can, send me you make a comment and I can get in touch with you, or on the Instagram page, which is the FishLab Tackle. You can reach out to us there. I'll respond possibly. And, we'll get them. If you have a message from Mike or to Bill, I'll get it directly to those guys. They'll get back to you probably through me, but very simple to do. Guys, I appreciate your time. It's going to be an exciting couple of years coming up here.
Going to be fun.
It's going to be a blast.
I think it's going to be more a couple of years.
Good.
I think we're creating a family that's going to touch a lot of lives for a lot of years.
Definitely.
It's going to be a lot of fun, but everybody stop on by booth 4800 at ICAST. And if you're not coming to ICAST, just swing by fishlabtackle.com. That's the website. We'll have all of the new products probably up within a week and a half. I think the week of ICAST, we'll actually put everything up on the website. I'm going to do some sneak peeks over the next week. We leave to actually head to the show. But guys, I appreciate it. I'm going to cut you off and we'll talk. Oh, go ahead, Bill. Go.
Look at Facebook. I'm going to give the sneak peek of the Slamamander. I've been holding on this. I'm going to be putting up right after we're done with this. I'm going to be putting it up on Facebook. So take a look at it and you're going to see what we're talking about.
Awesome. Mike, any final words?
See us at ICAST.
Let's do it. All right, guys, take it easy.